This episode of iFanboy is brought to you by DC Comics and Green Lantern.
Before we get going, though, what is a poozer?
Sounds kind of dirty.
Yeah. You know, if you have a poozer for more than 12 hours, you're going to see a doctor.
Really?
Yeah.
If I'm walking on the street and someone's like, "Hey, poozer," should I get in a fight with them?
Depends. You know. You'll lose.
You call me poozer? Hey, welcome to iFanboy, the comic book discussion show. I am Josh Flanagan. I'm here with...
I'm Parallax.
Hey! He is...
How long ago did you think of that?
Just now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
This is Ron Richards, and I'm Connor Kilpatrick. And this week, Green Lantern's out in theaters.
Woo!
You're really proud of yourself.
I am, actually. Parallax somewhere in the yellow.
You're out for the show. I'm done.
I'm done. I'm out.
You're the imperfect.
Green Lantern hits theaters, the big Warner Brothers film, the next DC Comics films.
Yes, since the Dark Knight.
Since
right?
The Dark Knight.
It's been a while since DC's gotten in the comic book movie game.
The great...
Wait, no. Sorry, Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex. You know what? Never
Not so
mind.
much.
This is DC's great big hope, the great green hope.
Green Hope, yeah.
That they can sustain non-superhero Superman, Batman films.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd talk some more about Green Lantern. We did it before episode 130. We did a show about Hal Jordan when
Yep.
Blackest Night started, and then we did 166 was a show about Blackest Night, which is the big event that was around Green Lantern 2 years ago.
The thing that really brought Green Lantern...
And we're gonna talk about the movie and some of the cool characters that we've seen in the trailer so far. But before that,
Yeah,
we're
we-
gonna celebrate Green Lantern.
Yeah, we talked about Hal Jordan. We did a whole show on him, so we're not going to so much talk about Hal Jordan, even though this is all Hal Jordan stuff.
And even though he's the main guy in the movie,
Yeah.
because you go watch episode 130 and you'll see what you need to.
We're going to talk about other people who have been Green Lantern and what we think of them, and how they've been
what it
characters.
means to be a Green Lantern.
Yeah. And then-
a Green Lantern of Earth.
In the movie, which is back to Hal Jordan. So we're going to talk about the first Green Lantern
Yes, ever.
ever, Alan Scott, from the old. He was created in 1940.
I have a strong affection for Alan Scott. I don't know why.
I think
You don't
like
like
him.
Wood either.
I don't like him. I mean, I do like him. I like him a lot.
we all like the JSA characters.
Yeah.
Alan Scott was the original Green Lantern. He was a Justice Society America character. He was an All-Star Squadron
He was
character,
created in 1940.
which is just 2 years after Superman, just a
Yes.
year after Batman. He's one of those original superhero
And
characters.
even now, like the sort of current history version of him is that he was the big guy back then. Like he was before there was Superman, he was the main power guy.
Now, it's interesting because if you look at his origin, what he was is that I believe he worked on the rails. And he discovered a train lantern that was a green lantern, and there was also a ring, and the ring was in the shape of the lantern.
Yes.
That's convenient that it can come with.
And it had, and basically he could use it to construct things and fly and stuff like that, but it didn't work on wood.
Everything's got a weakness.
Everyone's got a weakness. So yeah, so basically if you had a toothpick, you could get to Alan Scott.
like bullseye. That
Has
kind
it
of-
ever been explained how my understanding he's not at all related?
He's not at all related to the other Green Lantern.
Got it.
Actually, the most interesting thing about Alan Scott is he is a Green Lantern, but he is not in the Green Lantern Corps. His ring isn't related to the power battery. He's completely
And
separate.
over the years, they've tried to explain it in a bunch of different ways. They've done it where, like,
it was magic.
Magic, and then it was the Star Heart, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like they did all these.
And then he
sort
wasn't
of-
even called Green Lantern for a while. It was called Sentinel, which was so stupid.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered why they never. I figured eventually they would try to retcon it in somehow, like he was a lost piece of the battery or something. But they've never done
time.
it. I'm just curious. I thought for sure Jeff Johns would do that.
But and there's always been a kinship between Alan Scott and Hal Jordan because they share the moniker or whatever, but never any attempt to like Ganthet. I want to come to Earth and be like, what's with this guy? What's with the poser? What's with the poozer?
I want him to come with a restraining order for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Copyright. How is it that he called himself Green Lantern when there's a whole corps out there called Green Lanterns with the same powers?
Cosmic copyright. But anyway,
Really? Ring, green energy, flamey.
So-
And a weird random arbitrary
yeah,
weakness.
they've made it more flamey over the years. Yeah.
Well, it was
But
back then. The way they drew it was it looked very flamey. So.
And they got rid of the wood impurity, by the way. And I think that So.
Get rid of all the impurities.
But I love the wooden
back
period.
then, you had to have a gimmick.
Yeah.
Now,
But so he was there in the golden age of comics, and then the dark ages of the 50s, and superhero comics went away, and Alan Scott along with the rest of the JSA retired. They hung up their tights.
They were old men. So Hal Jordan comes along in the Silver Age. He's the primary Green Lantern. The primary Green Lantern since the 60s, basically. Even though there's been a few we're about to talk about, it's always been Hal Jordan as the primary.
And that was the establishment of the science fiction angle, of the Green Lantern Corps, the whole kind of space cop idea. You know.
So then you come around to the 70s, and DC got very socially conscious in the 70s.
So the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams classic Green Arrow, Green Lantern on the road.
And so they brought in a black Green Lantern named Jon Stewart. He was the first, after Hal Jordan came around in the 60s, he was the first new... there was a core, but the first primary Earth Green Lantern was Jon Stewart.
Now, when Jon Stewart became, and I'm hazy on those issues, when Jon Stewart became Green Lantern, was this when Hal was an insurance salesman?
No. It was in this. It's in here. So, and I haven't read it in a while, but I think at a certain point they just decided they wanted to have another Green Lantern.
Now there are two for each sector.
But that's a new thing.
Yeah. They gave some reason Hal had to step down.
Yes, which I'm sure people can comment about. I've read it in a while, but
he was mad.
Yeah,
he was very mad.
He was angry. He was a completely different kind of character than Hal Jordan, who was kind of boring, sort of conservative character. And then Jon Stewart shows up, and he's sort of very angry, urban, black.
You opened up to exactly the page.
I really did. So I'm
sorry,
I'm talented like that. Yeah, it's amazing.
He's been the sort of 1A Green Lantern since then. I mean, he's the one.
And he went through a thing where he'd been paralyzed. He was in a wheelchair for a while. He killed in what was
Cosmic Odyssey.
Yeah, in a Cosmic Odyssey, he destroys an entire world, and he's still getting over that now.
Well, what's interesting is the discussion recently when Dwayne McDuffie died is that for most people, until the movie hits, most people think of Green Lantern as Jon Stewart because he's been.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, we're going to talk about Guy Gardner. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just found so excited what happened. Guy Gardner was injured, and Guy Gardner was his backup, and so Jon Stewart became his new backup.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Guy Gardner next. Basically, the two guys who were going to be Green Lantern were Guy Gardner and Hal Jordan, and Hal Jordan was closer, so he got it.
All right, so we'll get to that in a second. But for most people, if you talk to most kids, probably they think that Green Lantern is Jon Stewart because he's been the Green Lantern in the cartoons for so many years.
Yeah, yep.
And more people watch those cartoons than the comics. So it's interesting to think about.
A generation think of Jon Stewart and they think of him as Green Lantern.
They think that Wolverine is Australian.
Yeah.
And sharpening the claws against each other. So then there's around the same time Guy Gardner shows up. Now Guy Gardner shows up slightly before Jon Stewart.
Late 60s.
Late 60s, but he was never the backup character. Right. As Josh said, when Abin dies, the Ring was going to choose a replacement. It couldn't decide between Hal and Guy. Hal was closer.
That's gonna grind.
Was a guy like visiting somebody sick? Like he was like doing something really personal.
It's been retconned a little bit that the Booster Gold took him on a trip somewhere so that
to ensure that Hal got the ring.
Right. Oh wow.
Why don't you just come with me?
And so
Guy
Gardner's had like this inferiority complex for ages because it's like the Ring should have picked me, and so much anger towards Hal and the Corps.
He shouldn't have been a jerk in the JLI. It probably would have never happened.
Maybe, yeah.
So Guy Gardner was always in the background, but he was never really a Green Lantern until the 80s, until Crisis on Infinite Earths, when there was a faction of the Green Lantern Corps that broke off, and they needed a new Green Lantern, so they gave it. And I remember seeing him going like, finally. Like holding up that ring. So like he really didn't become a Green Lantern until the 80s.
And I gotta admit, despite the bowl haircut, I always liked Guy Gardner's costume better because like what was interesting was that
because
if you look at the classic Hal Jordan costume, with the green and the black, although it should be black, the kind of the unitard kind of thing and the mask. Jon Stewart gets it. Same costume, but chooses not to wear the mask because he's not going to hide behind, he was the whole statement type thing. Guy Gardner comes along, and you start to get this idea of individuality around the Green Lantern, which is a key factor to the Green Lantern Corps, I think, is, how they use their power. And Guy shuns the unitard look and goes for this jacket with like this big collar. And yes, it was very 80s, but it looked different.
Yes.
And like it had without even reading any words in the speech balloons, you knew that Guy Gardner had a different attitude for some reason.
The funny thing about Guy Gardner is whatever that design is, you kind of always know who he is. Yeah. Like it's not always a bowl hair. He doesn't have a bowl haircut anymore. And
he's got a buzz cut now.
He was Warrior for a while. Then he ran a bar for a bit.
Yep.
But you always can see who he is. However, he's always drawn. He's got that sort of universal design.
Unique.
Keeps going.
I remember being so pissed when I was a little kid, like 10 years old. I grew up reading the Silver Age, Bronze Age stuff that I bought on the back issue bin. I jump into JLI. I'm like, who the fuck is this? Like he's a jerk. Everybody hates him. Where's Hal Jordan?
Well, it's funny because that's just a taste of what was to come later on.
Yes,
in your
that
life.
started it.
Yeah, because then in the mid '90s when they had Coast City gets destroyed. Hal gets infected by the parallax impurity, or the yellow.
That was a retcon reason later on.
But
he just went crazy.
He went crazy.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
And goes, becomes parallax, goes crazy. So the Green Lantern Guardians look for a new Green Lantern, and they find Kyle Rayner. In an alleyway, I think in Colorado or like somewhere like. And Kyle Rayner then became the new Green Lantern, and that was when I got into Green Lantern. So Kyle Rayner was my first Green Lantern.
Actually, yeah, me too.
Yeah. That was Ron Marston and Judd Winnick also wrote those issues.
Yeah, and Ron Mars created them with Daryl Banks, and then
94.
Judd Winnick did a long run on it after that.
Yeah. And he was an artist, so you got to do a lot of creativity with the constructs.
The best thing about Kyle Rayner that I could say, I was going to spit when I said his name, but I couldn't find a place to spit, was that he really ushered in the idea of, let's actually do something with the ring.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, the joke was all Hal did was make giant boxing gloves or fists. Yeah. And with Kyle, he made stuff. And that was like his draw. Now everyone does that. Yeah. So I think that's the best thing that Kyle brought to the table.
I really liked Kyle. Kyle was an artist, a graphic illustrator. He lived in L.A., so he wasn't based in... he was based in a different place. Eventually he moved. He had a rough start.
He was in the Village.
At the beginning he was from L.A.
Yeah.
Then he moved to New York. And he had a rough start at the beginning. His girlfriend got stuffed in the refrigerator. That started the whole thing.
Yeah. And it also angered a lot of people, so much so like the Heat, the Heat people? Those crazy folks who demanded that
Hal's Emerald Action Team.
Yeah, and they took out an ad in Wizard.
Was a charter member of the...
poor Ron Mars. I'm sorry, Ron.
But I always liked that character.
Yeah.
And I remember reading... Yeah. When you're talking about he was really fun to read what he'd do with the ring. I remember he went on a space journey once and he got himself into he made a
Corvette
monster truck. Yeah, no, at one point he was in a monster truck and then he was in like an old classic convertible car.
They did cool stuff with him. Yeah, I liked him.
What got old with him was I hope I fit in. I hope everyone in the JLA likes me.
But that's what you need to have. I think one of the reasons why they did that is because you always have to have that character who's also the eyes and ears.
Hated him.
The eyes and ears of the audience have character.
Yeah.
Me and
Wally hated him. Yeah. And so he was a Green Lantern for
a long time,
almost 10 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Then they finally brought Hal back.
And now they all get to be Green Lanterns.
And now the idea is they found a place for everyone. So everyone, all those guys we've mentioned, they're all still Green Lanterns.
So in recent stories, Hal Jordan comes back, and it looks like Kyle and Guy have been based on Oa, and they've been in the Green Lantern Corps. I don't know what Jon Stewart's been doing.
Kyle, Guy, and John are all kind of sort of general purpose training. They sort of hang out in Oa and do. Although none of them do. They're all off in that never-ending story that's going on in Green Lantern.
We're not going to talk about the never-ending story. but yeah, so I mean, it's interesting to see how what was started as Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern for Sector
Earth,
what it was
2814,
and then it's like, but your backup will be Guy. Oh, well, Guy's hurt. Okay, you're back over with Jon Stewart. Oh, and here's Kyle Rayner. Okay, you're all Green Lantern. Everyone gets a ring.
Then,
you get a ring, and you get a ring.
Hey! It's under the chair. And then it's like, then they had the partner thing.
Yeah, they did the partner. Yeah, they did.
So that allowed them to have two Green Lanterns. Now they said, okay, now they're Ion guards or whatever. They basically decided we're going to keep everyone happy by keeping them all. Yeah. They've all got their own books, sort of.
Which is fine, because it's good, because a lot of people like Jon Stewart for certain reasons, people like Guy Gardner, people like Kyle, all that sort of stuff.
It's nice to have that ensemble cast. If you look at that Green Lantern book, Green Lantern Corps book, it was a lot of fun, because there was a lot of things that had to go on.
And the thing is, if you have a Corps with thousands of people, why can't you then have room for
it makes sense.
everyone?
Yeah, I'm not doubting it. So,
is there an HR department? Like, we're way over budget. We have to take back some of the rings.
Salak. But as we've seen in the movie, the Green Lantern Corps is very much prominent. So we're going to take a break, come back, and we're going to talk a little about the movie.
In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape his sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware his power. Green Lantern's light. Don't miss the blockbuster Green Lantern movie from Warner Brothers Pictures, starring Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan in theaters June 17th. Get the New York Times bestseller Green Lantern's Secret Origin, written by Jeff Johns and illustrated by Ivan Reis, which stars the character that inspired the film, along with all of the Green Lantern graphic novels written by Jeff Johns, featuring the art of the world's greatest artists at your local comic shop, bookstores, or digitally at dccomics.com.
The movie hits this week, and there's been a bunch of trailers,
It was nerve-wracking.
There was one trailer,
early trailer.
Then there was a long break, then there was a bunch of trailers.
Then they gave us, at WonderCon, there was all that footage. They showed like 10 minutes, and then there was 4 minutes of footage that was released online, and then finally in May they did another trailer.
And the most recent trailer in May really focused on the cast of other Corps members. So it's important to note that there's thousands of Corps members. And
the thing is like the footage that they've released in both the trailers and online, stuff like that, really kind of fan servicey. and kind of showing who they're going to show. Sort of, yeah. But
it's fan servicey in the fact that like all those characters are there, and there's all sorts of notes that you can hit, and characters we're going to talk about. But on the other side, like it's a little different from what the comic books were, and I think that's making a lot of fans like,
the feet.
Well, the feet, and like it's an energy base, but it's instead of.
But I think if we're talking about the characters, it also shows people that this is a big, epic sci-fi adventure story.
It's really trying to cover a lot of ground. It's,
so who are some of our favorite non-human Green Lantern people?
Well, for the mustache, Sinestro alone.
Sinestro's interesting because he's the primary villain, although I guess right now he's not.
Right now he's
who knows
not.
what else?
I mean,
We started off as a Green Lantern. And he had a little pencil mustache.
The greatest Green Lantern.
Trained and like worked with Hal early on, and if you read Green Lantern Secret Origin, you see a lot about Sinestro.
Or Emerald Dawn, which is one of the old 90s origin stories.
From the archives.
Yeah.
But more recently, Secret Origin touches upon the Hal Jordan Sinestro relationship.
And he was the greatest Green Lantern who power went to his head, just like happened to Hal in the 90s, and became evil.
Corrugarians. Every time.
And so now in the comics, at least, Sinestro is the leader of the Yellow Lanterns. Which in the trailer there was a Yellow Lantern symbol, wasn't there?
Yeah.
He's really interesting because he's one of those evil characters who
you see it
not
coming.
No, but he's not necessarily evil.
He's a Magneto character.
He thinks he's doing the right thing. He's trying to keep order in the universe. He's it's just ambiguous about what he's not out to kill any. He's not going to rule for the sake of ruling. He's trying to do it for the greater good.
But in his ruling in his way. I mean, it's every dictator.
Obviously, but
Hitler-esque.
it really makes for an interesting character, and I think that one of the best things about the recent years of Green Lantern is to make him
very layered.
more interesting. Yeah. And for a while, like he was goofy, like he was in a clown outfit, basically.
He had
the stars, Super Friends days.
And now, Jeff Johns and Ethan Van Sciver brought him back to a place where he could be a really interesting villain and hold down something like a movie and Mark Strong playing him, like that looks really interesting to me.
Now, if you ask people, I think the most popular Green Lantern character who's not the main character is probably Kilowog. He's probably a fan favorite. He's the big, burly...
Bulldog.
Well, we're not talking about Mogo, sure.
He's the sort of pink-faced, big, sort of bulldogish character who's the drill sergeant character in the Corps. He's the one who says Poozer. Poozer. Yeah. Don't know what a Poozer is. And there's a town called Kilowog in upstate New York, which
there is. Every time we go to college, I'm like Kilowog. But which you gotta wonder. Unless
that word means something, and that's what they named the town after the person.
Or whoever wrote that book was like
from upstate. But anyway, Kilowog is just he's like this lovable, big, tough, kind of.
Is he lovable?
Yeah, I think he's lovable.
He's lovable in that gruff thing way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was great to see him. We see him in a little bit of a training sequence.
Michael Clark Duncan's voicing him. He's
which was announced not too long ago, so they stuck him in there.
But he's always in it. Every time you see it in the animated films, he's always. I mean, he's one of those fan favorite, and he's great.
And he makes a great action figure,
along with Tomar Ray.
Tomar Ray
who's the beaked kind of.
He's a character I don't know as much about. I know he's always been there, but I never found myself being like, I want to know more about that guy with the beak in the fin.
He's a veteran. He's one of those. He's one of those great Green Lanterns who's always been around. Mm-hmm. I haven't read a lot of backstory on him. Like I'm sure there have been stories about him, but I haven't read them.
It's really thin in the movie.
But he's one of those guys. Like Tomar Ray's.
That makes sense.
He's a good Green Lantern. Yeah, he's a solid. He's always been around.
I did not picture him with a British accent.
Well,
it's a thing that I didn't.
He went to finishing school. He went to Eton.
He knows how to drink.
And then of course, no Green Lantern first tale would be complete without Abin Sur, who's who in this they position as the greatest Green Lantern.
Right. Yeah. Well, he was. I mean, in the comics, he was a bit too. He was Sinestro's best friend. He was. They were the two great Green Lanterns, and he was killed. However, that happens in the book. In the movie, we'll find out.
Yeah.
But
I love the why was he in a ship? Like, because Green Lanterns can fly around, so like in the comics, there was like a great explanation as to why he was in a ship, because he was transporting a prisoner, Atrocitus from the Red Lanterns in the comics, stuff like that. Now in the trailer, we've seen him in a fight, and then he gets in this capsule and shoots off. And I guess the reason is because the ring was getting drained, he didn't want to waste the power or whatever. But it's
actually not a bad explanation. Well, they should be using that one more.
Yeah.
So he's in it. Obviously, he kicks off the whole story. There's no story without Abin Sur dying. And then there is the Guardians, which we hadn't seen in the trailers until the most recent one.
Yeah.
So a quick little sort of
that led people to suspect that there were no Guardians. That Sinestro was in charge because he leads the meeting and the thing.
I think
they just finished the Guardians.
Maybe you have to have Guardians. I always like that they're the mysterious keeper of this power, and they where they come from, who knows? They're as old as everything else, and they start the core, and their motivations you don't quite know.
They're always kind of jerks.
Yeah,
They're like your boss. You know,
Yeah.
your boss is kind of a jerk. They're kind of jerks.
he's interested in the bottom line.
All these rules and all that sort of stuff.
They do have all the rules.
Yeah.
No dating in the office.
Now, what's interesting is that, like you were saying, that they're covering a lot of bases with the movie, and it looks like the movie's got kind of two stages. It's got the cosmic stage on Oa and the Green Lanterns, and they say this big threat. It's going to destroy the
Parallax
world.
looks like Parallax.
Yeah, it looks like Parallax. We see the yellow lantern kind of thing. But then on Earth, what's his name? Peter Sarsgaard
Peter Sarsgaard,
plays Hector Hammond.
not to be confused with Stellan Skarsgård, who's in Thor.
Right, but Peter
Love to say
Sarsgaard
it.
plays Hector Hammond, who he's the dude with the big head in the
Yeah.
comics, like the enormous, like
Well, he was the
MODOK
character who
ass.
Who I get confused with the Hulk? Is it the leader?
the leader.
Yeah. Oh, I confuse him with MODOK
No.
because the head is so big.
No,
but
but he's got
doesn't the leader have
the leader.
mustache,
The
too?
leader has the big head and mustache.
Yeah.
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 Hector Hammond worked at Carol Ferris
Ferris Air.
also, and he was in love with Carol Ferris, just like Hal was.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be?
Classic love triangle. Hal won because he didn't have a douchey mustache. That's why he won.
Or because he didn't get a big break.
yeah,
to
so
her.
mostly it's the mustache.
Yeah.
She can get past the head. It's this thing.
I gotta
It's
admit,
the baldness, isn't it?
The
Is it the
makeup-
baldness?
The makeup of the head thing in the movie is kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
It's
I think they went a little bit too much. But
Yeah.
so the whole thing with
I
him is
like it.
he is a villain born of jealousy for a love of a woman, which is one of the classic tropes of a superhero villain.
So I'll be curious if they're going to tie what he's doing on Earth with the yellow.
Well, you saw in the trailer, he gets the piece out of Abin Sur,
Yeah.
and his eyes turn yellow, so
Yeah.
he's somehow tied in the. They'll
Or
probably
he
tie
just
the
says jaundice. I don't know.
he got that cut. He had a shot.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. If he just had a little...
so regardless,
Antibiotics.
I mean, are you excited for the movie?
I am. I actually am. I've been hopeful. I mean, that first trailer wasn't very good. It wasn't, but
took him a little while to admit that.
The footage was good.
every subsequent release has been really exciting, and I think that if it's a grand sci-fi epic, that's a little different than what we get with the other superhero films. They're very grounded. It's almost the opposite. The trend has been to ground everything in reality, where this is like we're doing Star Wars.
Yeah.
Put it up in space, and so it could be fun. And I like Green Lantern, and I hope it does well, because if not, we're not
I
seeing
mean,
DC
I'm
films.
pro Green Lantern. I'm more. Of course, I'm in this summer of insane number of movies. Of course, I'm more excited for the Marvel movies because I'm a Marvel guy, and have been. But and I love Thor, and X-Men, and Cap's coming later this summer. But this one, I want it to be good, but I'm like, I'm a little.
I feel better
Yeah.
than I did at first. At first, I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to be very good. And then, as we've been going forward, maybe it could be a little
You
good.
got to admit the mask.
I like the mask. I like the costume. I love the costume, but.
You're into the... I
But
could go either way.
I
love
think
it.
that we're discounting the general public reaction, which is every time I've been in a theater with a trailer plays and
It's
Ryan
so
Reynolds comes
brutal.
on screen,
Yeah.
every woman starts giggling. I mean,
He's really the key, because he's not the Hal Jordan that I think of. I think that's pretty clear. Like, he's not that Burt Lancaster, that new Frontier version. That's my favorite. He's more jokey. They're going for a little bit of an Iron Man vibe, I think, with it.
yeah, I mean, they're all doing that. They have
And
to.
if you can get behind that, then you can probably get behind the rest of it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing to sort of get past. I don't mind Ryan Reynolds. I don't think he's bad.
I hate him. I
He's-
can't stand him.
Really?
He was on 15 on Nickelodeon.
And that's his whole career
Yeah,
is shot.
done. Yeah, when he
that's
was-
how you work. I was like, can you watch the show?
I don't
You're
like.
"Ah,
I'm not a big Ryan Reynolds fan. I'm not. So.
I've seen him be really good in stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Adventureland? He was good in that. There's different things. Blade 3.
I don't know. So if they make a rubbery Green Lantern Halloween costume and I buy it for you, will you wear it?
I can always
Like not at Halloween.
I
though.
hope
just
it
like
is-
just
in
like just
general?
like just
The
like around
store?
the
I
house.
hope
Yeah,
it has
the
feet
store.
pieces.
like you put your toes in,
Yeah.
like a glove,
So there's going to be a ton of Green Lantern discussion over at iFanboy,
including
this
a
week.
special edition audio podcast where we talk about the movie after seeing it, which
Yeah,
we will
so
see.
go to ifanboy.com. There'll be a post about this video show. You can talk about what you think of the various Green Lantern characters as well as the trailers, stuff like that. But then also check out all the great content, the audio podcast. Everything's going to be at ifanboy.com. It's going to be Green Lantern Central. So go to ifanboy.com and do that.
Woo! Contact at ifanboy.com is our email address, and 888-FANBOYS-326-2697 is our voicemail. You can call there, leave a message, just to get some discussions going.
Yeah, and this is how the internet works now. Go follow us at twitter.com/ifanboy or facebook.com/ifanboy.
Did you just explain how the internet works?
Wow.
Well, listen, we're talking about email and phones. We want these shows to live on.
This is
Tweet
the
us.
internet. I give you the internet.
2. Hey, welcome. Wait, we can do
Who's
this.
over?
3, 2.
I'll count you in because you're doing it. All right. Come, just take a breather. Take a breath.
Okay.
All right. 3. 3, 2.
Before we get started,
Louder.
Yeah.
It's too soft. 3, 2.